So the context of our discussion today is to, traditionally, I guess, F&B, and we spoke about it in the earlier session right now as well, has been, within the hotels, has been sort of limited to perhaps breakfast and providing a venue for the hotel guests to have their food. And it's sort of, the contribution of F&B has sort of varied from anywhere between 40 to 50% of room revenue to up to 80% depending on the category of the hotel. I think in the context of the fact that, especially in India today, that the hotels are perhaps a bit sluggish on room demand. Part of that is the oversupply, part of that is a bit of the soft market. The importance of F&B is now gaining more prominence. And, with that, I think the traditional approach has been increase hotel guest usage, increase hotel guest averages, and increase hotel patronage from the community. That's kind of been the traditional focus. So with that, David, within the Meridian, how do you view the importance of F&B within the hotel?
Thank you, Vivek. Well, I'm from the old school. The hotel is built around F&B. So I'm a firm believer in it, and I love food. And especially here in India, it's so difficult to keep that weight down with the vast variety. But seriously, I still believe in it. And, we're a corporate hotel. And when guests come back, I think it's really essential for them to be able to relax and have cuisine of their choice and also try the local cuisine. So I'm a firm believer. I think it's, we just need to be smarter in F&B. I know Arjun was saying in terms of the volumes of buffets and so on and so forth. And Dilip then mentioned in relation to interactive. So I think that's a great concept that's come out, is the interactive buffet where stuff is actually being cooked freshly and it's extremely healthy. So my take on it is, please keep going with food and beverage. It's a really essential part of hotel life.
And Zubin, you've obviously come, general manager of the ITC that has a great lineage in F&B. How do you see the importance of F&B within the hotel? And also, how are you seeing competition from the high street impact your business?
You see, what may end up happening in this panel is that the opinions will be a little biased because I think all of us here tend to be from a kind of a F&B background. But having said that now, as a business manager today, and it's very difficult to let go of what it is that we have always believed, that food and beverage drove the business, particularly with hotels. I'm saying so with experience, and I'm talking about 15 years ago when we opened the hotel in Mumbai. We came back into Mumbai after many years, the ITC Maratha. The food and beverage capacity that we put up was way beyond the capacity or the number of rooms that we had. It was very clear and evident what the strategy was, that we knew that it's a hotel hub coming up in that part of the city, and that we are going to feed that hotel hub. And that's how we get people to experience the hotel, that's how we get people to get their taste of what the ITC Maratha was all about, and bring them in to stay there as well. So it actually drove the hotel business, the food and beverage. There's another opportunity to do that as well, and talking about, and you talked about the various points, talking about the local patronage. If a hotel has to be of any repute in any city, the locals have to talk about it for it to have some kind of attraction in terms of recall, top of mind recall, etc. And they'll only be able to do it when they have something good to say about it. They'll only probably have something good to say about it if they've experienced it. Not very often are they going to come and stay in your hotel, but they are going to come and dine in your hotel. It's invariably going to be either at the all-day dining restaurant, or it's going to be possibly in a banqueting, where in one evening or in one event, you're able to expose yourself to that many more people. So these are probably the two largest avenues for you to be able to expose yourself to a larger community within the city, and then your specialty restaurants are what would bring in the clientele from outside the other hotels or from within the city who are here on a corporate spend or maybe to celebrate a special occasion. Talking about High Street, sorry, one more quick one, and this is something that Vikramjit had talked about in one of his articles recently as well. where do restaurants stand, and how is it that hotel restaurants are looking at the standalone restaurants, and do they look at them as competition? I can say one thing: the kind of flexibility that and the kind of innovation that standalone restaurants have been able to bring up or bring to the fore in the last few years, particularly in a city like Delhi. I thought Bombay was the ultimate place, or Bangalore for food and beverage. But I realized what Delhi is doing today in the standalone food and beverage space. If the standalones would not have been there and would not have mushroomed the way they have mushroomed today, it would have probably been a big disservice to food and beverage, or the food and beverage landscape. There's been a lot that hotels have even done just to keep up with what's happening, and it works vice versa. So at the end of the day, the winner is the consumer.
Interesting. Raymond, if I can sort of get you into this conversation, you've executive chef at the Leela in Gurgaon, which is known for its F&B and its restaurants. How are you seeing the competition from standalone restaurants to at least, not necessarily with your hotel guests, but with your hotel guests, as well as with impacting local patronage coming into the hotels?
Well, we are located in Gurgaon, so Cyber Hub has a major impact there. I mean, you have, I don't know, endless choices in Cyber Hub, and it has a big impact I think in every hotel, and my colleague will agree with me. For us, we try to keep our selling points unique. What I mean to say is that all our outlets need to have something unique, so it attracts the locals and obviously the world travelers, and we try to keep all our guests to have as many meals as possible in our restaurants. But obviously the competition is really hard. I mean, like my colleagues say here, I mean, every day you have, I don't know how many restaurants opening here in New Delhi. And I think the key is to keep a vision that the entire team, from the sales, service, kitchen team, the entire hotel should have a vision to make your selling points unique. Yeah.
And Deepak, you've obviously sit on the other side at some level. You've worked for hotels, you've advised hotels, as well as, I think today your focus is more on the restaurant side.
Yeah.
What do you advise your restaurants currently on how to position themselves against the F&B offerings that are more traditionally well entrenched within the hotel business?
Okay, all the international cuisines which are here in New Delhi or India now, actually 15 years ago, the five-star hotels set a base, and then new restaurants started to mushroom, copying concepts of different five-star hotels. But then working on both sides, I've realized that freestanding restaurants actually have one owner to report to, the chef. So in case there's any change in either decor or change in cuisine or in menu, it doesn't have to route through the corporate office and come back after 14 months, and by that time the restaurant is totally dead. So freestanding restaurant can change a concept within 2 to 3 months, shut it down for 2 months, reopen. That could be a risk whether the new restaurant would run better or worse, but at least they can take the risk. So this is one of the advantages what freestanding restaurants have in terms of changing their concept. The second thing is that when you work in the larger unit, larger hotel, larger sectors, your teams are basically, over the years, have become a little rigid, and they have, they are used to work in a particular standard. Like the Commie 3 will report to Commie 1, and then he would report to a sous chef, and then the entire team will report to executive chef. And when a Commie 3 has got a fantastic idea, or a Commie or a chef de partie has a good idea, there may be an ego clash with the executive chef. This is what I've seen personally. And then the innovation stops. But whereas in a freestanding, if one person goes directly to the owner and says, this is what I can produce, take my trade test and see how can I do it, owners give that person a free hand to do that, so the results come out faster. It's not that I'm against five-star hotels. I've spent more time in five-star hotels than freestanding restaurants, but this is the drastic change I have seen. Also, if a five-star hotel has a concept of opening only for dinner or opening for lunch and dinner, whereas a freestanding restaurant sees a demand for breakfast, it can also open for breakfast or create high teas, or is more flexible in terms of pricing, in terms of attracting group bookings, or these days the common thing is like a kitty party where you have a group of 20, 25 women going in, and there and then the discounts can be given, and the business can be solicited within a period of 15 minutes. Whereas probably for the larger companies, if the policy says you can't go under maybe 2,500 per person, you got to stick to it. So, staff doesn't mind losing business rather than going against the management's wishes.
No, I think that's a fair point. And I think leading on from that to the two general managers specifically, do you sort of view your restaurants as a separate P&L? Or is it something that's viewed as in the context of the overall P&L of the hotel? I guess what I'm trying to say is that, it's perhaps, that would drive to some extent, how you want to maximize revenues. Or is it really looked at as a way to aid the existing infrastructure of the hotel?
It's a business. So it's got to be viewed on its own, and then overall it makes up the entire profit of the hotel. But very much you need to be able to look at it individually, and as Deepak was saying, compete. You got to make sure. I'd like to say that we're in the hotels now, Deepak, also looking outside and going and visiting those standalones and trying to emulate them in our own properties. And a lot of properties you can see, not only here but overseas, are getting outside companies to come and run their F&Bs. And I've seen this all over the world, having worked in so many different countries. So I think, yes, it's important you view it, and we like to give the chef the individuality in order to prepare dishes and the creativity and all of that. It's crept in. I think the external restaurants have actually done us a favor. They've made us rethink our strategies. So yes, coming back to the question, important to look at it as a unit on its own, and then how does it make up the entire.
Do you agree with that? Dilip mentioned an important point in the session before, and he talked about the design of hotels and how, if you want to actually leverage local patronage, to have street side access, and really, it sort of changes the way the consumer experience of an F&B. You don't want to necessarily go to the hotel lobby, get to the rooftop, or next to a banquet somewhere. How important do you view that in terms of the design of where the restaurant is, to be able to leverage local patronage? If I can start with you, Raymond.
Yeah, from my experience, prior to Lila Gurgaon, I spent 2 years and a half in W Doha. Yeah, W is known by creating unique concepts and very trendy. In that particular hotel, every restaurant had direct access, apart from the lobby, and that was the success of that hotel. I mean, that hotel used to be 60% of revenue coming from F&B and 40% from rooms. And I think creating accessibility just right from the street will change the perception of the F&B in the hotel completely. Having said that, here in India, I've seen the grandest lobbies of my life. And it's a little bit tricky to create direct access to the F&B concepts. But I think that will make a big difference. The way the industry is developing here, with so many standalone restaurants coming up, that's crucial. And the hotel that managed to do that will really change the market. Yeah.
And Zubin, how do you do that in an existing hotel? An existing hotel that's already been designed. How do you overcome that challenge that you already have?
See, I may not be able to give a perspective of outsourced restaurant versus a F&B versus internal, but I can give a little bit of a perspective.
I'm talking about an internal restaurant being a little more outward facing.
So I'm talking about street side access versus something which is intrinsic to the hotel. And the finest example will be for two, in the traditional model, two types of, one is banqueting and the other being nightclubs. And you would want to do that not just to make it more welcoming for the guys who are coming, but just to keep the hassle out of your lobby. You don't want to deal with the masses and the unruly lot walking through your lobby. One hotel in Mumbai did it very cleverly. They have a restaurant which converts to a nightclub and which goes on late into the night. You enter from the lobby, you exit from the behind, the back. Very well planned and designed. So the valets would bring the car around the back and everything would be taken care of. As far as banquets are concerned, and this hotels have been doing it for ages, creating a separate entry to keep the crowds out. But having said that, I've been part of a hotel where we had a beautiful lawn which was used for banqueting very, very popularly. What we did is, and we realized the potential, we constructed a convention center with a separate access. And we said now that lawn is going to be untouched. The convention center and the lawn adjoining the convention center is where we are going to do our large format banqueting. The market didn't accept it. We want to walk through your lobby. We want those photographs to be taken in the lobby. So it may not work in all markets. And in India, it is the emerging markets today where your business is growing is where the guys still will want to walk through that lobby. Because it's still very aspirational. Walking into a 5-star for a meal, even if it is for a banquet, it is still extremely aspirational. The guy wants to get that feeling of, having arrived in a hotel lobby. In some markets, it may work beautifully. So you have to judge it based on what it is and who it is that you're targeting.